This is Doombox, and Guild Wars Reforged has been out for a little bit now, and it's had a pretty successful launch. Now that the initial hype has had a chance to settle a little bit, the question on everyone's mind is, what's next for the game? In this video, I'm going to talk about the future of the game. It's going to be more of a fun video, kind of like a wish list of stuff that I would love to see as the game grows. We're going to start with the simple, realistic stuff, and then we're going to move into the big stuff. Like, say the game really takes off and there's like an infinite budget, anything you can imagine, what would be awesome to see in Guild Wars Reforged. So at this point, I think it's safe to say that Guild Wars Reforged has surpassed expectations. One day after the game launched, the official Guild Wars Twitter account posted that demand for Guild Wars Reforged blew past our projections. Now, they didn't just say, oh, it did a little bit better than we thought. They said, blew past. You don't use that kind of language if you're like, that's doing a little bit better than I thought. On Twitch, Guild Wars Reforged has had significantly more viewers than Guild Wars 2, which is especially comical because Guild Wars 2 just had like a major expansion release. Guild Wars Reforged has been doing numbers on Steam, and that's not including any of the non-Steam players, which I assume is the majority. And all signs are showing that this wasn't just like a flash in the pan. The game's been out for over a week now, and the signs of activity are not stopping. All of the major hub cities are packed, and even like obscure missions and little towns and outposts have people in them. I was in Yak's Bend the other day. It had like 3 or 4 districts. And for what it's worth, my last video that I posted to go along with the launch of Guild Wars Reforged has been performing better than anything I've ever posted on this channel since I started it in 2008. Now, don't get me wrong, I understand that I'm no Moist Critical or whoever the kids are watching these days. It's a dead game, it's a small channel, I get it. But the numbers on that last video were mind-boggling. And just to be a little bit cringe here for a second, thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for checking out the game. It's really, really cool to finally see excitement for this game that I have been passionate about for like over half of my life. I don't want to say I told you so, but I told you so. Guild Wars Reforged wasn't even a new game launch. It was just a rebranding of an already existing game. There wasn't even any new content added, but it turns out all it took was acknowledging that the game exists and the player base got resurrected overnight. Anyone that's been paying attention to the MMO space could have seen that coming. Old school RuneScape vastly outperforms RuneScape 3, and World of Warcraft veterans prefer WoW Classic to retail WoW. It's a tale as old as time. Just look at the Twitch numbers. People are paying attention to Guild Wars, and it doesn't even have new content. It was just like a little rebrand and ArenaNet saying, oh, by the way, we care about this game now. So now that Guild Wars has an active player base again, what's next? The dream is new content. That's kind of been the elephant in the room. Everyone's saying, why is there not new content? What's the point of playing? I want to see new content. Now, real quick, let me be clear. If you're a new player, you have years worth of content ahead of you. This is mostly for like veteran players who have already done everything years ago, but new content is good for everyone. It grows the game, it builds hype, it brings people back. Well, this video is going to be basically my wish list, more of a fun video. I'm gonna give some suggestions and ideas for what I would love to see in the game, what I think would be impactful, and I reached out to the community and asked a few, so I'm going to share some viewer suggestions. I'm going to start with like the lower hanging fruit, the stuff that would in theory be pretty easy for ArenaNet to do, and then as the video goes on, I'm going to work my way into the more juicy stuff, the exciting stuff, kind of like the pipe dream, copium, wouldn't that be amazing if this happened type thing. But it's going to be fun, so let's jump into it. So starting with the easy stuff, I think the most obvious one is balance. Guild Wars has not had a meaningful skill balance update since 2011, unless you include some of the anniversary stuff, but there hasn't been like a proper balance since then. Now, I'm not talking like full profession reworks or anything, just tweak some numbers, maybe adjust some things, and then if that works out well, then maybe they can do some of the larger swings, like the Paragon update that never happened years ago. Veteran players know what I'm talking about. Elementalist is in kind of a weird spot. There's just things here that could be adjusted. And again, we're just talking like tweaking numbers, little things here that doesn't require like an entire art team to do or something. It's just numbers at the end of the day. One thing that I've seen a lot of people talking about is more face and hair options in character creation. Now, I understand that that requires like a graphical artist, but even if they just found some like royalty-free 3D hair models and just slapped them into the character creator, I think people would like that. Also, on initial character creation, mix and match hairstyles across professions and campaigns and races and stuff like that. For example, right now you're locked down by campaign and by profession, but for example, put the male necromancer hair as an option for ranger, or put the dervish hair as an option for paragon, etc. Just kind of open up the possibilities, give people the option to mix and match however they want. People love stuff like that. That on its own is enough to get people excited. Do not underestimate the power of fashion wars. Now, another thing that would be, I think, fairly easy for them to do would be to add some sort of like nightmare mode. We have normal mode, we have hard mode. Add like a level above that. Super hard mode, nightmare mode, mythic mode, whatever you want to call it. That's essentially just tweaking numbers again. Just scale the mobs even higher, give them faster skill recharge, give them more armor. That breathes life into already existing content without having to add a whole bunch of new stuff. It's just give the tryhard sweats something fun to do. The next piece of low-hanging fruit would be cleaning up some of the areas of the game that haven't been touched for a while. For example, now that PvP is kind of a thing again, do something about like the cheaters, hackers, and bots that you see in HA and stuff like that. I'm not sure what goes into that, but now that we have people actually playing the game and it's not a dead game in maintenance mode anymore, it's probably time to tackle some of those issues with the cheaters and stuff like that. I also think it would be cool if they added more collections to the game. There's really only one, which is the Black Moa Chick. It was one of the more unique things they added to Guild Wars back in the day. It allowed you to kind of go all over the map collecting items, using them in different areas, and you had a little incubator kit, and you could hatch your own Black Moa Chick. I actually have a video about it if you're interested in watching it. But that was kind of the only one of its kind. In Guild Wars 2, years later, they came out with collections, which were a similar thing, but they could go back and add them into Guild Wars 1. They don't even have to create new assets. Just take some random enemy mob, shrink it down, turn it into a mini pet, create a collection, mini quest, where you have to go around collecting items. You go here, boom, you get a new mini. Stuff like that. People love things like that. You can put a weapon skin at the end, anything, whatever. Now here's a really big one. ArenaNet/2 weeks, if you're listening, this is the one I want you guys to make note of. Official Iron Man modes. If you've played old school RuneScape, you've heard of Iron Man mode. If you've played Guild Wars 1, you may have heard of Iron Man mode because players are doing it unofficially. It's a self-imposed set of restrictions that forces you to play the game in a different way. You're restricted from doing certain things, and it creates a challenge that makes you farm items differently, approach missions differently. Add a checkbox in character creation for something like Iron Man, which forbids you from trading with other players and accessing other items from your account and accessing skills unlocked through your account. Basically a totally isolated solo playthrough. You can add Hardcore Iron Man, which is 0 deaths. If you die, you start over or lose your hardcore status like in old school. Ultimate Iron Man, which requires you to farm all of your materials and upgrades yourself. You can't go to the rune trader, you can't go to the material trader, you have to actually go out and farm if you're somebody who likes loot grinders or games like that. And you can even add a group Iron Man option that allows you to only group with other group Iron players, so that way you can be sort of self-sufficient, but it creates more of a community so you can still play with other people when it comes to missions. Add a little icon next to your character name that shows what type of Iron Man you are. That alone will bring so many people back and breathe so much life back into the game. I know I keep saying it, but just look at the success in old school RuneScape. People love Iron Man mode in that, and it was player created. I actually have a video about how to do Guild Wars Iron Man mode. If you're interested, feel free to check that out. All right, now we're going to move into the really spicy stuff. The game takes off, does so much better than anyone thought, and we have like infinite resources. Here's what I want to see. First thing, add more elite areas. Right now we can access Fissure of Woe, Balthazar's Realm, and the Underworld. Grenth's Realm. If you've been to Temple of the Ages, you'll notice there are a bunch of other god statues there. Add the rest of the god realms. And you don't even need to go crazy. Reuse assets if you have to. For Melandru's Realm, just take like Maguma Jungle assets and like Tarnished Coast assets, merge them together, use existing enemy mobs like the Nature Spirits or whatever, give them really advanced builds, add a couple of quests, just, you know, make them similar to FOW and UW. Dwayna's Realm could be based off of like the Hall of Heroes aesthetic. Lissa's could be like a weird mismatch of like a bunch of zones together all at once. Take something from like Vabi, take like Domain of Anguish, Prophecies areas, who knows? It's all about chaos, right? So just mix and match stuff, kind of like the Chaos Fractal in Guild Wars 2, if you've ever seen that. And then on that same note, add dungeons for the 3 base campaigns. Dungeons weren't officially released until Eye of the North, the expansion. Now that the dungeon mechanic exists, find places in the rest of the game where a dungeon would make sense. For example, Ashford Abbey, post-Searing, add the Catacombs. Make it a dungeon, make it operate kind of like Eye of the North dungeons. You could put one somewhere in Cantha, maybe like an Undercity dungeon where you go and kill Ampha. You have to wade through the poop sewers, get keys to unlock more floors, stuff like that. Nightfall, like add an expansion to like the hidden city of Ardashim and like put a dungeon there. Basically anywhere where a dungeon would have made sense to go in like the main 3 campaigns, put a dungeon there. Why not? I would also love to see them fill in the blanks for all the missing armor models. For example, if you make a ritualist and go back into Tyria, like mainland Tyria, and go to Draknar's Forge, the armor crafter, there's nothing there. Or if you take a Paragon into Cantha and go to the Canthan Armor Crafter, there's nothing there either. Basically, anywhere where there's a missing piece. I'm talking Elite Luxon Paragon Armor, Elite Dervish Kurzik Armor, Tyrian Assassin Armor. And then while we're on the subject, wouldn't it be cool if they made Assassin, Ritualist, Dervish, and Paragon characters that you can create across all campaigns? Now that would take a lot of work, and like lore-wise, I'm not sure how it would work, but imagine like an assassin in pre-searing. Imagine being able to roll Paragon and Xingje and go through factions that way. They would have to maybe add a bunch of new skills for some of the later professions like Paragon, because there's no such thing as like Canthan Paragon skills or core Paragon skills. So that would take like a much larger effort, but it would be cool to see. And then speaking of pre-searing, this is like the #1 thing that I've seen when talking about potential new content. People want new pre-searing quests, new pre-searing areas, anything like that. Just throw them a bone. People love pre-searing, as demonstrated in my last video. Wouldn't it be cool if you could go even further north in the Northlands or even further south? Even if there was like 1 new zone and 1 new quest, that would be enough for like the pre-searing fanboys to like go crazy. And then finally, the ultimate wish list item. Everyone's probably been thinking it, but I'm going to go ahead and say it. Guild Wars Utopia. Bring it back. Give us new campaigns. For those who don't know, Guild Wars Utopia was a scrapped campaign that was supposed to come out after Nightfall. That's when they decided to go with Guild Wars 2 instead. They made Eye of the North as the bridge between the two, and we never got to see Utopia. It was supposed to have an entire new continent. It was supposed to have 2 new professions, the Chronomancer and the Summoner. There was like an Aztec South America type theme to this new continent that we never went to. There was going to be a city called the Hub of Time. This has been like the ultimate pipe dream, like the end game, the true sign that Guild Wars is back, baby, is Utopia. I know it's very unlikely, but like this video is all about dreaming, right? So that's like my ultimate, if this game succeeds, that's what people want to see. Guild Wars Utopia, baby. Make it happen. All right, I reached out on the socials to see what you guys would suggest. If you had infinite budget and could add anything to Guild Wars, let's see what you guys had to say. Ashy8no8UB says, I would love to see another mission pack get released. I agree completely. The bonus mission pack was a really fun and unique experience, and the good news is it doesn't really have to fit anywhere directly in the game. They can kind of just be one-off stories. And ArenaNet would love any chance they could to bridge the gap between Guild Wars 1 and Guild Wars 2. So here's another comment about balance. Not calling for nerfs. Yeah, that would be kind of lame. Everyone gets back into the game and then suddenly, boom, everyone's favorite build is nerfed. Yeah, no, I think there's some adjustments. Ranger, Monk, Paragon, Yeah, I mentioned Paragon earlier in the video. That's kind of the one that kind of got forgotten about. They did a big dervish rework with the flash enchantments and stuff. They said they were going to do one for Paragon, and then it kind of just got left by the wayside. All maps merged, no clicking on the boat. Now that would be cool. Guild Wars 2 actually does this, and I love it. That's like a really, really awesome feature that you can see like the entire globe. Each statue of the gods having their own elite missions. Yep, I said the same thing. Glad to see that other people are on the same page there. I love a storage pane and pre, +1 skill per attribute. Yeah, storage and pre would be nice. Obviously, it should be self-contained and not like you can transfer items from post-searing into pre. That would be game-breaking. But yeah, storage and pre would be super nice. Reforged was Brady says, I'd like to see some new titles in-game, quest completion, speed clear timing. That would be cool, adding like an official speed clear title. My dream would be a fresh start server with delayed expansion releases. There's been a lot of talk about fresh start stuff in-game. New weapons, new skills, a new class. Yep, all would be amazing things to see. Expanded character customization, expanded pre-searing areas, or an actual graphical overhaul. Yeah, anything to improve the graphics would be cool. Monster says, I want a trade house of some sort while retaining trade between players. That's an interesting concept, like an auction house or something like that. Wonder how that would work, but yeah, the trading system and the spamming in Spamodon is a little bit archaic. It would be interesting to see what this game would look like with a proper auction house. Convert henchmen into heroes. They could have quests and story for all of them. That's kind of an interesting idea, but I mean, there's just something special about wiping to Elysia dying for the 400th time in a Prophecies mission. A new expansion centered... What? The Alona chapter of Guild Wars Beyond. How could I forget about that? Yeah, of course. So that was kind of like proto-Living World. They did Winds of Change in Factions. They did War in Kryda in Prophecies. And then there was that, like, I don't know, the like Gwen romance mission or whatever that was. But yeah, they never did one in Alona. I would love to see that. Catalog the events that happened leading up to Guild Wars 2 on the Alona side of things would be cool. An upgrade component trader. Now that is an interesting concept. I wonder how that would affect the economy. I want more anti-Char propaganda. 100% agree on that one. Char did the searing. Never forget it, kids. Alright, well that pretty much wraps it up for this video. Let me know what you think. If you guys have ideas and thoughts on what you would love to see in Guild Wars Reforged moving forward, feel free to leave them in the comments below. My dream is that 2 weeks /ArenaNet sees this video and reads the comments and like actually takes some of the suggestions to heart, but you know, guy can dream, right? Feel free to subscribe for more Guild Wars content, and also if you're looking for a guild, feel free to join my Discord server and ask for a guild invite. I can't believe I'm saying this, but the guild is actually starting to become active again. Can't believe it. We're finally back, boys. And this is Doombox signing out.